I absolutely love how this coffee pot holder for the Nespresso Virtuo machine turned out. We still have a problem with the original machine. I don't have one for the original size pod, so today we're going to make one for the Nespresso original pods. I got a piece of HDPE. We'll get it sucked down to the CNC machine. I'm going to try something on this that I haven't done before. This is a miter fold, so essentially we're using a 90-degree V-bit to cut a groove in here that we're then going to heat up and fold later to make up these sides of the pod holder. The plans for this project are available on our website, and I do have options that have the miter fold in it and then one that does not, in case you want to avoid the whole miter fold portion of this. So I switched out for a 1/8" spiral O-flute bit to go through and do all of the pocketing and cut all of the holes for the screw locations that we're going to have later. I think it's so satisfying to see this thing cleaning up all of those edges there. I went through and used a raster cut here instead of doing an offset cut, as that would have left part of the letter there and it wouldn't be able to hold down while we're actually cutting everything out. So I didn't want to chance that popping up and potentially damaging the bit. So we went through and got the outside profile of the piece all cut out as well. And now we have our HDPE portion of this ready to go. We got the vacuum turned off and we can get all of those pieces all popped out. I love the sounds there of all of those pieces popping free. So we got the protective plastic pulled out and we can set this HDPE portion to the side and turn our attention to the wood portions. We'll get that put down and sucked down to the CNC machine as well. Start out with a 1/4" downcut bit. For this, I'm going to do something a little different. So the most efficient way to clear these pockets is just by doing a offset toolpath where we just go around. But I wanted to try something here. So this took 9 minutes. I'm doing a raster cut going with the grain with a 10% step over. And it took about 9 minutes to cut this pocket out, but it is perfectly smooth. And there were absolutely no issues with that we don't need to sand. I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So most of social media would like you to think that everything goes perfectly, but here at ToolsToday we like to keep things real. So that's what most people would show you. However, this is what actually happened. So the bit came to a stop, everything went in nice and smooth here, and when we went to release the tool, it didn't release. And then when it hit a limit here on the STEPCRAFT, it has a semi-closed loop system, so it was able to pick up on that. I went through and homed the machine and then was trying to figure out what was going wrong. I noticed the dust boot here, it's pneumatically powered, and it was low, so I went to go check the air pressure, and I had turned off the air compressor. And I had turned it off because we needed it off for a shot that I was doing on the camera. So anyways, got that powered back on. You can see that dust boot raised. So now we are able to go pick up that bit again, and then we'll just restart our program right where it left off. So thankfully to that semi-closed loop system for recognizing that it had lost a step, we were able to save this project. I switched out to a compression bit, and a compression bit has a upcut and downcut portion of the bit, which means that it's able to leave a clean surface on the top portion and the bottom portion of the material, as long as the first pass is below that upcut portion of the bit. So the compression bits work really well for doing any sort of profile cuts where you're cutting all the way through material. So we went through in a couple passes and got this all cut out, and we can get all of the pieces pulled up on the CNC machine now that everything is all cut. So with the compression bit, again, you have a perfectly clean surface on the top and bottom side of the material, and we're left with really nice big chips from cutting, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see big chips, not sawdust. Big chips mean that you are cutting efficiently. Small chips, sawdust, means that you have either your speed set too high or your feed rate set too low. So now you can see better on those pockets where we cut. You can see all those lines that are left from the offset cuts, but on this last one, it is glass smooth. I wanted to set up a test to show you just how smooth it is. So when you put one in the right side where we have the really smooth pockets, it slides much better than it does on the others. There's just less friction. So even after sanding all of these, I still have quite a bit of lines here. This is sanding up to 220 grit, and that last one is still perfectly smooth. I actually had to go through and rough up that last one because I was afraid putting finish on it, you'd be able to notice a difference between the two of them. So it took 9 minutes to cut out that last one, but it saved a lot of hand sanding. So you decide what's better, whether you'd rather have the machine do the work or not. So we got the ore mask pulled off. That was just on there for filming purposes. Use some walrus oil furniture butter for finish. A air compressor helps blow out the finish that's left in those corners to make removing the finish a little bit easier. So then I'll flip it to the back side and get the French cleat installed, which is how we're going to hang it on the wall. I'm going to use a no-mar countersink to drill a countersink and pilot hole at the same time to a consistent depth without marring the surface. We'll get that all screwed in. We'll do the same thing on the opposite side and then the same on the other side. And then after that is done, I need to install a spacer on the bottom to keep it equal distance away from the wall. That way it hangs nicely. Now that's all done, we'll go back to the HDPE piece, and it is incredibly satisfying to deburr these edges. It is so cool and so easy to do. So this basically just takes that really hard edge off of there. That way it's not super sharp, and it is very satisfying. Just listen to this. We got absolutely perfect curls off of there, and I love the way that that worked. So now we're going to do our miter fold. Essentially, we're going to use a heat gun to heat up both sides of this, and then once it kind of gets a shiny look to it, we're able to actually get that bent. So I just keep going back and forth on each side to evenly heat everything. You can see that kind of shiny look there. So now we're going to be able to actually get that all folded. Just use the bench as a reference and fold it up to a rough 90 degrees. I found that it was easier to do this in 2 passes rather than try to do it in 1. You could sit here and hold it this entire time, but I did find it easier on the second one here to just take it over to the sink, and I'll run it under some water to basically super cool it really fast. This held its position quite a bit better, and so I did the exact same thing on the opposite side. Needed a spacer block just to space it off the workbench since I had the other side already folded. So we essentially did the exact same thing here on the other side and was able to get everything folded. It didn't hold its shape absolutely perfectly, but with the screws it was able to pull everything together really nicely. And again, if you want to avoid the whole fold portion of this project, the plans do come with a version that just screws directly to the front. However, I really like the way that this looks, kind of hides those screws on the side, and it really looks nice. So we got that all screwed down to the backer board, and now we have our piece ready to go, and we can get it put up on the wall, get everything installed. I could not be happier with the way that this project turned out. It absolutely cleaned up this whole area and looks really nice next to the other one that we made as well. If you haven't seen that video already, be sure to check that out as well. It was a really fun build too. But anyways, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the tools used on this project available on our website, as well as the plans. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you love this type of content, be sure to subscribe right over here and click right over here for more great videos.